Hi. In the previous video, we've actually proven that equilibrium in ISLM-BP model exists. So we know that the three lines, ISLM and BP, are intersecting at one point, and what is more, we've actually calculated the value of GDP and interest rate for this model. We leave assessment of equilibrium exchange rate for later once we get to implicit function rule to make the calculations simple. Okay, so now we are actually ready to see what happens in ISLM-BP model when central bank uses monetary expansion or a government is using fiscal expansion. And let's start with monetary expansion. So what we want to see now is what happens if central bank decides to increase money supply. So first thing, of course, we need to calculate comparative static derivatives. So what happens to equilibrium exchange rate, the equilibrium level of income, if central bank is increasing money supply? And look, if we differentiate this expression with respect to m0, all we've got is this coefficient that you see over here. So calculating the derivative is really straightforward in this case. It's E plus W divided by 1 minus B times 1 minus T L plus K E plus W. And look, we clearly see that all those expressions are positive, so we know that even in the open economy, monetary expansion has positive impact on income. Now, what about interest rate? Well, again, all that we have to do is to calculate comparative static derivative of interest rate this time with respect to m0, and again we see that m0 is just this coefficient 1 negative 1 minus b times 1 minus t over 1 minus b times 1 minus t L plus k e plus w. And we clearly see that this is between 0 and 1, this is positive, we've got minus up front, and we have negative expression as a result. So look, what we've learned from this is that once we open the economy, still the effect of monetary policy is more or less the same as in case of closed economy. So the outcome of increased money supply is higher GDP and lower interest rate. However, we should stress that what is happening over here is happening for different reasons, and actually there is way more effect than we need to take into consideration. And this is what we're going to do right now. Okay, so as I'm going to be talking about now impact of monetary expansion and later fiscal expansion, I'm going to try to stick as least as possible to what is happening in the closed economy, and I'm going to be putting more attention to what is happening in the open economy. But okay, let's start. Look, central bank is increasing money supply, right? And how do we see? Look, every time when money supply is increased, LM curve goes to the right? Okay, and this is what we see that is happening in this country, in our economy. Higher money supply means, assuming that we will have the same money demand, means lower interest rate. Lower interest rate means higher investment. Higher investment mean higher GDP, right? And look, this is what we've seen in regular ISLM model, right? As a consequence of higher money supply, we see that equilibrium interest rate is going to be lower and equilibrium level of income is going to be high. However, in open economy, this is not the end. We've got a second part to this story. And let me demonstrate what do I mean by that. Look, if our interest rate goes down, what is going to happen to capital account? We said that capital account depends on the difference between domestic and foreign interest rate. If our interest rate is falling, it means that we will observe capital outflow, right? So capital account goes into deficit, right? What else does it mean? Well, it means that now our residents will be purchasing foreign currency. So there is a pressure on foreign currency, will be purchasing foreign currency in order to buy foreign assets because they yield relatively higher return. So we expect, of course, this increased demand for foreign currency to cause pressure on depreciation of domestic currency. Right? Okay. Now, what is happening over here? Now look, if income is increasing, this is going to impact current account. In which way? Well, the higher is the income, the higher are the exports, right? So current account, in this case, also goes into deficit because higher income in our country means we can import more goods, right? And again, this creates, if current account is in deficit, it means that we need more foreign money than foreigners need our money, right? So this is a second source of pressure on depreciation. And look, we clearly see that pressure from both current account and capital account are forcing our currency to depreciate. So our currency actually depreciates. What happens then? Well, if our currency depreciates, exports are going up, so current account is improving. As current account is improving, we buy less from outside the world, we sell more, our income is going up. And as our income is going up, money demand is going up, higher money demand means higher interest rate, and higher interest rate creates a pressure on capital account to get back to zero. Okay, so look, now we understand the entire result. How should we draw it, however, on the graph? Well, let's denote, let's say that this is the closed economy part, the green one, and the blue one is the open economy part. So, first, we see depreciation of the currency, and depreciation of the currency means that BP moves to the right or downwards, and IS moves upward as a result of improvement in current account. And look, as a result, we see new equilibrium level of income and interest rate. And look, what is the key to the key conclusion from that is, look, if this was a closed economy, we would be at this point. But this is open economy, we ended up at this point with even higher GDP. And look, this actually means that monetary expansion is more effective in open economy than in closed economy. And look, this is because, first, when central bank increases money supply, we've got this internal effect. Lower interest rate, higher investment, higher GDP. Right? However, we've got the open economy effect now. Lower interest rate creates capital account deficit because now foreign assets are more attractive in terms of return than ours. So our residents want to buy more foreign currency. Pressure on depreciation of our currency. Also, higher income means higher import. When imports are getting higher and current account goes into deficit, we see that this creates a pressure on depreciation as well, right? Because we need more foreign currency than they need of ours. Both of these effects, as you see, work in the same direction, and as a result, you actually induce depreciation of the currency that improves current account and, as a result, further increases GDP. Okay, so now that we understand how monetary policy works in open economy, let's see about fiscal policy. Here the situation is slightly more complex, but just slightly. Okay, so now we've got fiscal policy and fiscal expansion. In IS 11 BP. Okay, look, again, in order to assess what happens to GDP and interest rate, right, all we have to do is to calculate comparative static derivatives, like those. But this time, we will be differentiating with respect to government spending. And look, this is why I told you that we need to, write this into two expressions, because what we see over here is actually the expression with government spending, and this is the only coefficient on it, which means that this is our comparative static derivative. Okay, and we know that this expression, everything here is positive, it's clearly bigger than 0. Okay, we will no longer need this, but we will need more space on the blackboard. Okay, so let me now just calculate comparative static derivative that everything here is positive, so we've got positive outcome. So again, the final outcomes are similar to the ones we had in ISLM 1. So fiscal policy increases both output and interest rate. Right? Okay, let's see this on the graph. Okay, so we start from initial equilibrium, where IS, LM, and BP intersect with one another. Okay, so now what interests us is what happens if central bank, if government increases the level of spending. So again, we can start with the closed economy effect. So higher government expenditures means higher income. Higher income means higher money demand. Higher money demand means higher interest rates. Right? This is the effect that we had in a closed economy. Right? We saw this as IS curve moving to the right. Right? To level IS prime. And look, we see that over here we would have higher interest rate and higher GDP. However, as before, this is not the end of the story because we've got open economy. And an open economy implies that with higher GDP, we will have higher imports. So current account goes into deficit. And we already know that if current account goes into deficit, it means that we need more foreign money than they need ours. This will create a pressure on depreciation. However, what is happening upstairs? You also notice that interest rate now is bigger. When interest rate is bigger, it means that our assets are becoming more attractive. So foreign residents need to purchase more of our currency to purchase those assets. As a result, capital account is improving. It's going into surplus. And this, in fact, creates pressure on appreciation of our currency. Okay, and look, here is the tricky part. Because look, now those two effects work in opposite direction. Depending on which one is stronger, we will either have appreciation or depreciation of the currency. So, which one wins? Well, this actually depends on the degree of capital mobility. And look, in this case, we will assume high capital mobility. Assuming high capital mobility, what do we get out of this? Look, what does it mean high capital mobility? Look, high capital mobility basically means that what happens in capital account is way more important, way stronger than what happens in current account. Look, this is a situation where countries are very well financially integrated, and actually what happens in a current account is not that important in determining actual exchange rate as what happens in capital account. And look, if this is the case, under our assumption, it means that our currency actually appreciates. And if our currency appreciates, so it's increasing in value, it means that current account worsens, right? And as a result, GDP falls. Of course, we should remember that this falling GDP will cause lower money demand, lower interest rate, and again, this is going to bring this time capital account to balance. However, as we see now, this open economy effect, so what we see over here and over here, let's just say that this part is important to us, is that part of the increase in GDP is eliminated because of the fact that pressure on appreciation of our currency actually worsens our current account, so our trade balance worsens. How do we see it on the graph? Well, BP moves up every time when our currency depreciates, and because our current account worsens, IS shifts back. So what we see over here is that income has actually increased, but it increased by less than it would in closed economy. So the main conclusion from here is that fiscal policy, assuming of course flexible exchange rate, this we will discuss in detail on the occasion of international economics, but we clearly see that fiscal expansion is less effective in influencing GDP than in closed economy. And look, I told you that this expression that you see over here measures crowding out effect. And look, we can rewrite this expression, just this expression over here, as KLE plus KLW. Look, and now KLE is internal crowding out effect. This is the one that we've already discussed. So, if government increases spending, this causes higher GDP, higher money demand, higher interest rate, and as a result, we will see lower investment, right? And lower GDP. However, as you see, I didn't draw this over here in our chain of causality because this is the one we've already established. However, in open economy, we've got this expression. This is external crowding out effect. What is this effect associated with? Look, this one, KL, this is simply, KL is nothing more than the slope of LM, right? And look, the slope of LM definitely has something to do with it, and in case of internal crowding out effect, we had that it was a product of slope of LM and E. E measures sensitivity of interest rate of investment to changes in interest rate. Here we have W. W is associated with capital mobility and capital account. Look, the second source of crowding out is associated with the fact that higher interest rate at home induces capital inflow, and capital inflow is associated with the pressure on appreciation. And this pressure on appreciation causes worsening of current account. And this is the second source of inefficiency in fiscal policy in increasing GDP. Okay, so this is it about the ISLM-BP model. For now, this is all we need. However, we will go back to this model and analyze it more thoroughly once we've learned some new tools that will actually help us make the model more complex, but the calculations way simpler. Okay, so this is it. Thank you for your attention, and I hope to see you in the next video. Take care.